Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul and I am trying to catch up with reviews. I missed a lot during the summer, so this is my June, July, maybe a little bit of August reading wrap up. This will be the last time I'll do an actual wrap up for a while, unless I fall behind. But I hope to do specific, unique reviews for everything that I read from now on. So let's get right to it. I'm not sure what order these are in. I just threw all the thumbnails over into the program and we'll just see what comes up first and I'll talk about it. So these are the books I read mostly during June and July. Alright, Permafrost by Alistair Reynolds. This is a novella by him that was released earlier this year. I enjoyed this. It's a very timey-wimey story. I just like saying timey-wimey because of Doctor Who. Anyways, this and Blake Crouch's Recursive got kind of mixed in my head because they're very similar. Anyways, this is a story about individuals that can go back in time, that they kind of like take over the body of the person they go back in time with, and they're trying to get seeds in the past to hide them somewhere to get the seeds in the future so that they can then grow crops and have food, because in the future like everything's basically barren and things are not good in the future. So they're trying to fix that by getting these very resilient seeds from the past. And I thought this was great. I thought this had a lot of great ideas, but like I said, it kind of got mixed up in my mind with Recursive by Blake Crouch, which I'll talk about in a minute. Manvotionals. I've been reading this for a while. This is by Brett and Kate McKay. This is basically the 7 virtues of men, and it takes famous speeches, poems, and essays from really prominent men in the past, mostly focusing on the late 1800s, early 1900s, and kind of talks about what it is to be a good man, a virtuous man, and advice and wisdom of how to be a man that you want to be. I thought this was good. However, I probably won't reread it, but I might go back and look at some of the quotes. Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. I finally read this. I've had this for I don't know how many years now, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I thought that there was a lot to most of these stories. I also read Exhalation, and to be honest, I can't remember which stories are in which book, but I enjoyed both of them. I thought Exhalation was a little bit better than Stories of Your Life, but this was a great collection, and I'll probably reread it in the future. Endurance by Scott Kelly. This is a nonfiction book about Scott Kelly's year-long mission at the International Space Station, and I enjoyed this. I learned a lot about space and what happens at the space station. However, Scott Kelly isn't the greatest of individuals. I don't know, he just kind of rubbed me the wrong way at times, but I thought this was a good read and I learned a lot about space. If you guys don't know, I love Joshua Fields Millburn and Ryan Nicodemus, The Minimalist. This is their first book, Minimalism, Live a Meaningful Life, and it basically goes through the 5 core values of their lives and what minimalism is all about. Minimalism is about getting rid of the stuff to make room for the things that are very important for us in our lives. So their basic values in life is like health, growth, relationships, things of that nature. And I think this is a good book to read if you're looking for what you really value in your life. Recursion by Blake Crouch. Now this is another timey-wimey story, and like I said, I got this one in Permafrost mixed up in my head, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that they're very similar. This was a lot of fun. Crouch does science fiction in a Hollywood popcorn type way, and I like this more than Dark Matter. I made sure to actually read this one because the Dark Matter book didn't work for me on audiobook that well. So I read this one, And basically, this is about individuals that are trying to save the world, save the cities, because going back in time has horrible consequences, and they're trying to figure out how to stop certain things from happening. And it's a lot of fun. Basically, you're able to go back into your memories and still be the present person before you went back. It's very interesting. I thought it was really good, and it was a lot of fun. So you're looking for a fun sci-fi book, check that one out. Falling Free by Louis McMaster Bujold. This is the first book chronologically in the Vorkosigan saga, and I thought this was good. I thought that the idea of a space station with genetic humans that have 4 arms instead of 2 arms and 2 legs is an interesting premise, because in zero gravity it makes sense to have 4 arms. But when they find out that they really don't need these individuals anymore because artificial gravity is becoming a thing, then they have to save each other, and they have to have help from the outside to save themselves. The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Now, this is a fantasy romance, and I thought this was very good. Basically, there is a magician that falls for a young aristocrat girl, and they have a relationship, but what the aristocrat girl doesn't know is that the magician is actually trying to get close to her aunt, because a long time ago the aunt and the magician used to date, and now he wants her back, but she's married now. But this is very tropey, very, you know what's going to happen. However, Moreno Garcia writes really well, so it's a really easy book to read with a lot of great prose and awesome scenes. The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. This is a nonfiction book about a young girl growing up in poverty and growing up with parents that are alcoholics, really poor. They have interesting values of what's meaningful in life, and basically it's her life as a child and how she handled growing up very poor and moving around a lot. I thought this was better than Educated by Tara Westover. Both of them are very similar in theme, but I thought The Glass Castle was better. Passage to Dawn. This is the 4th book by R.A. Salvatore in his 3rd series with Drizzt. I also read the 3rd book, which I'll probably review here in a sec. But this one has Drizzt going off into another world and trying to just kind of find what's going on with this like demon that he ran into in the first trilogy. And it's just a very fun, light romp of a book that I kind of enjoyed. I like the 3rd book more, which I'll talk about more in a sec. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. This is a nonfiction book and probably my favorite book of maybe the year. Basically, this is Holiday's Stoicism book about dropping the ego, the wannabe in charge, the person that maybe other self-help books try to bring out in you, but to basically make you realize that once you let go of who you think you should be, you can then become who you are. And I loved this book. I will definitely want to reread this. Siege of Darkness. Now this is the 3rd book from the Salvatore. I guess it's the series. I can't remember the series name. It's not the Dark Elf trilogy, and it's not. I don't know. Put it in the comments if you remember. Obviously, I'm doing this on the spur of the moment. But this one has a huge fight scene, and Drizzt family is attacking the Dwarven Kingdom, and there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of fighting, and the whole second half of the book is one great big battle, and I am all about that. And I had fun reading this. A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin. This is a story about a woman that is an ambassador to this large, culturally rich empire, and she is the new ambassador, and she kind of has to go and figure out what happened to the old ambassador because he was assassinated, and try to figure out what is going on, where is her place in this society, and where is the place that she comes from, her people that she's representing, where do they fit in? And I thought this was good. I would highly recommend it for people reading books from 2019. I think that this could possibly be one of the nomination books for next year. I thought it was good. At times I got a little bored a few times. The Catcher in the Rye by R.A. Salvatore. No, I'm sorry. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Close enough, right? Anyways, this book was annoying. Holden Caulfield is such an annoying character. This probably would have worked for me when I was like 18, but as an adult, it just was, it just drove me crazy. It just drove me crazy because he just needs to grow up and just figure stuff out. It's basically a young man getting out of school, trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life after school, and he basically doesn't trust anybody or anything. He is very cynical about the world, and it's his coming to realize that his worldview is messed up. Cheshire Crossing. This is a graphic novel by Andy Weir and Sarah Anderson. Sarah Anderson does the Sarah Scribbles books, which I really like, and Andy Weir, of course, is Andy Weir. He wrote this before he wrote The Martian. Most of the issues were before The Martian, and it's about Alice from Alice in the Wonderland, Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and Wendy from Peter Pan, and they are back in the real world and basically doing therapy. But then they have to go into their fantasy worlds in order to save themselves. I thought this was okay. I think that the audience for this was very confusing. Like, Weir didn't know who he was writing for at the time when he was writing this. If he would have just not dumbed down, but made the content a little bit younger, it would have found a much better audience, and it would have worked a lot more. Girls Stop Apologizing by Rachel Hollis. This is the second book that she's written, and I listened to this on audiobook as well as the first one. This is a motivational book for women to basically stop apologizing about their life and embrace themselves, embrace their goals, embrace who they are, and stop making excuses and to get what they want out of life. And I enjoyed this. Let's see here. Alright, Magician Master. Let's see if I can find Magician Apprentice first. Okay, Magician Apprentice and then Magician Master are two books by no, that's not working. I tried. Alright, Magician Apprentice is the first book by Raymond E. Feist. He wrote both of these books as one big book, but then in the US he split them up, and then he revised the editions. I thought these books were a lot of fun. They're very much classical fantasy. And the first one is very much, young orphan boy figuring out his way in the world, outsiders attacking, there's princes and princesses, but it lays this great foundation for the second book, Magician Master, which really opens up the world building, because there's another world that the main character goes to, and then in the world that is at war has a bunch of princes and people vying for power. And I was just really impressed with the world building throughout these two books. I thought the characters ended up being lovable, and I really enjoyed them. I think I gave Magician Apprentice like a 3. It's been Magician Master a 4, and I'm reading the 3rd book now, and I'm enjoying it as well. I think if you like Michael J. Sullivan, if you like Tad Williams, individuals like that, you would probably like these books. Alright, we have In an Absent Dream by Shannon McGuire. This is probably my least loved book from her Wayward Children series. This one just felt a little different. Basically, a girl goes into this new world where it's very logical, and she enjoys that. And she's trying to decide between living in that world and living in the real world. But she considers the fantasy world her home. And so when she comes back to our world, she's all upset, and then she wants to go back. But it's interesting because she has relationships on both sides. And so there's this big conflict about, what side will she choose? I thought this was okay. It was good, but there wasn't a whole lot there that really surprised me or made me excited. Okay, 2 more. Claire North wrote The Sudden Appearance of Hope. Claire North is a science fiction writer that I really enjoy. In this one, nobody can remember the Hope. She basically gets forgotten as soon as people meet her. So obviously she becomes a thief and an assassin. And this is her story where she's trying to take down a corporation that wants to make perfect people. So there's this app that tells you what to do, what to buy, where to go, to basically make you into the individual that society wants you to be. And she doesn't like that idea, so she's trying to take it down. There's a lot of great lines in this book. Claire North is really looking at popular culture and picking it apart during this book. And I really just enjoy Claire North's writing. And I listened to this on audiobook, which I think people would prefer. And the last book is Exhalation by Ted Chiang. This was fantastic. I gave this a 5-star rating. I thought the Life of the Software story was probably my favorite story of his so far. Yeah, that was really good. Just this idea that your Pokemon or your digital pets can become so intertwined with your life that they become so important to you that you would do anything to keep them, and that the systems that are built around those pets need to survive in order for your pets to survive. I thought that was fantastic, and I think that story specifically might become relevant in the future. Okay, so those are the books I read during the months of June and July. Thanks for watching. I am now caught up. Woohoo! Yay. I will talk to you guys in a next video. Thanks for watching. Take care.